My name is Praveen Kumar. I'm working at Anurag University as assistant professor. So today we are going to discuss what are the basic attacks and what are the mitigation techniques. So that is what we are going to discuss in today's session. So let me share my screen. Just give me a second. OSA model, we will be having the 7 layers. So generally we used to implement the security solutions, right? So security solutions by using firewalls, maybe using intrusion prevention system and VPN devices. So generally we used to implement from the router to our application layer. Now scenario thing is that I'm not going to discuss what are the types of attack that we are performing from layer 3 to layer 7 through application layer. Just our intention is that I'm going to explain so what are the layer 2 attacks and how we can able to perform the mitigation operation, right? So why we need to learn about the layer 2 attack means the moment we are going to implement the security solution from layer 3 to layer 7. So it means someone who want to access, they cannot able to access. But you consider the scenario or situation that when the user comes in your organization, you can something consider like that when hacker comes to inside of your organization, if they can access your data link layer. So data link layer is nothing but layer 2, which works based on the MAC address mechanism. So layer 2 switches will comes under the data link layer, right? The moment someone hacker access your data link layer, so whatever the security solution you are implementing, so either maybe firewall, IPS, VPN, so everything will be compromised, right? So now we'll see what is the common layer 2 attacks, right? So then how we can able to perform the mitigation attacks, right? So in this class, we are going to learn about what is called as DSCP attack. So in which situation we are getting the DSCP attack, then how to escape from DSCP attack. Once it is done, we'll go through the telnet attacks as well as the VLAN attacks. Then one more is the MAC address table flooding attacks, right? So if someone hacks inside of your network, then these are the possible attacks we can able to perform. So here we have mentioned only 5. There are spanning tree protocol attack is there, R poisoning is there, so many attacks are there, right? So that things we are going to discuss in the today's class, right? Then before going to start this session, so let me tell you, so do you have any idea about the Cisco packet tracer? Cisco packet trace. So those who join the session, do you have any idea about the Cisco packet tracer simulator? Can anyone respond? Did you ever work with the Cisco packet tracer simulator, which is offered by the Cisco Network NetAC Academy? Okay, fine. So now what I'll do is let me introduce about the tools, right? So once tool is completed, then we'll start to perform the basic layer 2 attacks and we'll also perform the mitigation techniques, right? So for example, see how to download. So this is a open source, right? If anybody wants to download the Cisco Packet Tracer Simulator software, right? So one who have the Cisco Networking Academy, they can able to download the Cisco Packet Tracer Simulator, right? I think you can join for Cisco Networking Academy, right? Without paying any money, you can join. So how to download the Cisco Packet Tracer Simulator means under resources, you will be finding the download packet tracer, right? So it is something around 200 MB size, right? So if you download this one, right? So see here it is supporting for the Windows, Ubuntu operating system, Mac OS. Just if it is 64-bit or 32-bit, just you download it so that you can start working, right? So what is the use of this Cisco Packet Tracer, which is provided by the Cisco Networking Academy means? So if someone who is teaching computer networks or someone who is preparing for the Cisco Certified Network Association, CCNA or CCNP, CCIE. So in order to perform the practical aspect, right? So you can design your own network, you can simulate your own network from layer to layer 3. You can design any kind of routing protocols, right? You can test, you can troubleshoot, almost all things will be possible if you can able to perform this using Cisco Packet Tracer Simulator. Then one more thing, we have some other software, right? So that is what, let me show you that one more thing is. So then one more software you have the graphical network simulator, right? So if you download this GNS3, right? So this is also some GNS3 is tool is there. If you download this one, right? So we can able to perform this all networking operation, right? Now if you ask me what is the difference between this one as well as this one, it means that why we require two tools like GNS3, then one more is the Cisco Packet Tracer Simulator. So if you consider the Cisco Packet Simulator, then what will be happen is, so that is already provided by the Cisco Networking Academy, right? So you cannot able to perform all those operations. Like if you want to perform some real-time attacks or real-time hacking scenarios, so those are limited in case of the Cisco Packet Tracer, where if you can able to download the GNS3, you can able to perform any kind of attack. Like we can able to, we can able to install the real-time Kali Linux operating system. So we can able to install the real iOS Cisco images. It may be L2, it may be L3, router switches, everything we can able to download from the internet. It is possible. For practicing purpose, Cisco itself, they are providing the iOS images. So you can download, then you can start working by using this one, right? So while going to, next slides, we are going to discuss how we are going to perform layer 2 as well as the layer 3 attack, right? So next, first we'll start from the dynamic host configuration protocol, right? So later on we'll discuss about what is DHCP attack, how we can perform the mitigation operation, right? So what is the meaning of dynamic host configuration protocol means? Generally, if you read this one, DHCP is a client server protocol that automatically provides an internet protocol IP address, and nothing but internet protocol address means IP address to the host missions, right? So with the DHCP, the entire process is automated and manually, right, and managed centrally. The DHCP server maintains a pool of moment if I want to get the IP address to my end devices, we have the two things, right? One is assigning of the IP address in terms of the static method. Another one is the dynamic host configuration protocol, right? So if we can able to implement this DHCP server, so here we are going to create something called as the pool. So what is the meaning of DHCP pool means? Here we are going to reserve the what is the starting IP address, what is the network range, what is the subnet mask, what is the default gateway, as well as the DNS server. Everything we are going to configure inside of the DHCP server. So the moment the user requesting for the DHCP server, then what will be happen from the DHCP server, the user can directly able to get the automatic IP address. Now, if you ask me why we require DHCP server means, so in my case, I have only 5 end devices, right? In real time, if you consider in your layer 2 network, you may have the hundreds, 200 thousands of the end devices. So it means that each time you cannot go inside of the each and every device to give the static IP address, right? Because IP address is unique, you cannot able to enter the right. So two IP address, right? You cannot able to enter. It means IP address should be always unique, right? So for that reason, what we are going to do is we are going to create the DHCP server operation, right? So if you see that how DHCP process will work means,
అంతే సార్.
yes, right. If you see that how DHCP process will be run is, for example, if you see that the moment when client is required IP address, it will send the broadcast message through the network, right? So the moment it sends the broadcast message means why it is sending broadcast message, why it is not sending the unicast message means at initial point of the time, my client does not know where DHCP server is located, right? It means that we don't know where our DHCP server is located in order to get the IP address. So for that, what we are going to do means we are performing the broadcasting operation. The moment it broadcast, the packet will be transmitted. Means the discovery message will be sent all over the network. So it by end it will reach to the server. Now what server will do will be, so here we have created pool, right? So in that pool, it will assign the IP address which is available. So it means that the second step is that it is going to perform the offer, right? So once offer is right, now what this PC will do is, because now that PC our client knows where that exactly the DHCP server is located. Now what these clients will do is it will send the request message. The moment it sends the request message, then finally it will send the acknowledgement back. It means that that particular IP address will be assigned by the server, then you will be getting the acknowledgement. And this is what we call as the DORA process, right? So if you want to get the automatic IP address, these steps is involved. One is discover, right? So second one is offer, one is request, another one is the acknowledgement, right? So these steps are involved, right? So now without wasting the time, let me open my packet tracer so that you will understand so how DHCP operation will be assigned, right? So let me open my packet tracer. EC2 device. So here I'm going to install the DHCP server. So first let me open DHCP server, right? So the moment if I open DHCP server, so first we need to assign the manual IP address to the DHCP server, right? So let it be, this is 192.168.1.1 something. I'm giving some IP address. So this is my subnet mask. If you are required, you can give the gateway as well as the DNS server. In my case, I don't require gateway. The reason why I don't require the gateway means because I'm not performing in terms of the routing operation, right? So I don't require the gateway. So let it be, this is the IPv4 address I assign statically. Now what we are going to do is in the service, right? So this is a DHCP service, right? So here we need to click on the services, right? The moment if we click on the services, these many services are available, right? Suppose what is our requirement? We need to enable the DHCP service, right? So for that, just I'm clicking on the DHCP services, right? Now in theory, I told that we need to assign the IP series, right? So for that, I'm going to create the pool, right? So if you want to create the 10 pools, we can give the 10 different names so that we can add the one pool with the another pool. So it means that we will be having the 10 different network ranges, right? So like that. So by default, in this case, I'm going to consider only single pool. So let it be, the name will be same as the service server pool. Then default gateway, I don't require. DNS also I require. So let it be, suppose I want to give the assign IP address. So I need to mention what is the start IP address. So let it be 192.168.1. So let it be, if I'm giving something 20. By default, what is this class C network, right? I hope everyone knows class C network. So that the default subnet mask for the class C network is 255.255.255.0. Once it is done, just click on the save, right? Just click on the save. Now see that what is the range 192.168.1.20. It means that you can ask me why you are not giving from 1.1, because the usable IP is from 1.1, right? Why you are not giving from the 1.20? The reason is that, suppose for example, I need to assign IP address for the DNS server some. So just I'm going from 101 to 1.20. I'm going to perform the reservation operation. Means I can use it for the future reference. If you don't require, directly you can give start from the 1.1 also, right? Once it is done, just I'm clicking on this save. So once it is done, now what I'm going to do is, right? So just click on my any PC, right? This is my end devices. So if you click on desktop, so under IP configuration, so by default it will be static mode, right? The moment you click on DHCP, now it is requesting for IP address, right? As I explained, DORA process, right? Discover, offer, request, then acknowledgement is there, right? So see that we are getting the 192.168.1.20 as the IP address. Why 1.20? Why 1.1 means? Because the starting IP address I have given is the 1.20, right? So if you again click this, you will be getting the what is the available IP address that will be assigned to this one, right? So this is how we are going to implement the DHCP server operation, so that we are getting the automatic IP address mechanism. Now once it is done, now we will see that what type of attacks we can able to perform, right, in DHCP server operation, right? So if you observe this, here we have the two kind of attacks we can able to perform, right? So here we can perform the two kind of able attacks. One is the DHCP spoofing attack. Another one is the DHCP starvation attack. So what is the meaning of DHCP spoofing attack? Means an attacker configure a fake DHCP server on the network to issue the IP address to the client. So what do you mean by this one is, this is my client, right? So it is going to get the IP address through the DORA process, right? The moment it send the request, right? So here we have the attacker DHCP. Here we have the legitimate DHCP server. It means that this is the right original DHCP server. We need to get the IP address, but somehow this guy also is offering the IP address from the DHCP server. He also created one DHCP server. So the moment if we offer the DHCP IP address, so denial of service means if I go to internet, right? So if I'm typing something like this, just give me a second. See, for example, this is my public IP. What is that IP? 103.203.173.188 is 180 is my public IP address, right? It means that if this IP address, you just consider something like this. So this IP address will be assigned by the legitimate DHCP server, right? So if it is 103 series, if you assign, so through this from your device, you can able to connect it to the internet, right? So we consider one more situation, something like this, right? For example, this is your layer 2 device, right? So we will be having the switches. Here we will be having the end devices, nothing but the PCs we have, right? Now, if you want to going to give some fake IP address, right? So 192.168 some series. Now instead of getting the 203 series, you are getting the 192 series. The moment if you get the IP address from this rogue DHCP server, you will be having the IP address in terms of the 192. The means which will forward the traffic to the router, because this gateway is not intended for the particular 192 IP address. Now what will be happen means you cannot able to connect to the internet. The reason is that you are not going with the proper IP address. So the main purpose of providing the DHCP attack means denial of the services, right? So this is how it is going to perform the DHCP attack. Then one more is the DHCP starvation attack. And what it will do means the client is required the IP address, right? So he is sending the discover, right? The server is going to offer the particular IP address, right? So now what client will do is instead of asking for the single IP address, he will request for the all the IP address which is available in the server. The moment if all IP address is assigned to this client, right? This client is nothing but you think in terms of the hacker perspective. So that all address will be given to the hacker. There is no more IP address which is available in this DHCP server. It means what will be happen when the new user come into the picture, he will not get the IP address, so that he will not able to send his packet through the internet, right? So this is what we call as the denial of services. So if you see this diagram, you will understand. See that here we have the DHCP server, right? So from here, this is my DHCP client where we need to get the IP address, right? Now what will, as I explained previous, it is going to perform based on the DORA process, right? So client send the DHCP discover message through the broadcasting, right? The moment it send the discover, broadcasting means it will spread the packet all over the network, right? So by end, it will reach to the DHCP server as well as the rogue DHCP server. Now what is happening in the next step is, see that the rogue DHCP server is offering the IP address as well as the original DHCP server also offering the IP address to the client. Suppose for example, if you are getting the IP address from original DHCP server, no problem. In case if you are getting the IP address from rogue DHCP server, then what will be happen means this IP address cannot be routable to the internet. It means that the basic motto of this rogue DHCP server is he is going to provide some fake IP address through the DHCP DORA process. It means that it will provide you denial of service operation, right? So now we'll see that how to perform the denial of operation service by using of the DHCP snooping attack, right? So for that, what I'm going to do is, again, I'm switching back to my packet tracer scenario, right? So this I'm going to consider as rogue DHCP server, right? So rogue DHCP server means he is going to offer some fake IP address to the end devices so that you cannot able to communicate through the internet. Just for example, you consider the scenario. So what is the IP address range we have given here is, right? If you see that under services, we have DHCP, right? The ranges we have given is 192.168.1.20 is the range, right? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to configure another DHCP server. So let me click on this rogue DHCP server. Just click on desktop. First we need to give the IP address. Let it be, I'm going to give some IP address 10.0.1.1. So by default class A subnet mask is the 255.0.0, right? I don't require default gateway as well as the DNS server, right? So once it is done, what I'll do is I'm just click on the services, right? So DHCP, just click on the, by default if you observe here, the services will be off state. So just I'm clicking on the service on, right? Once it is done, we are going to assign the IP address range. So starting IP address as well as the what should be the end. So how many user can be able to access like this, right? Once it is done, just click on the save. So now see that what is the IP address 10.0.1.10, right? Now this once, now what will be happen means the moment, let me open my any one of the PC. If I'm clicking on PC 0, right? So I need to get the IP address, right? So let me click on first on the static operation. Now see that what will be happen. So this is 192 series, which is original DHCP server. This is the rogue DHCP server. The moment if I click on DHCP, now DORA process is communicating. So see that here instead of 192 IP series, we are getting the 10.IP series, right? It means that we are getting the IP address from the rogue DHCP server. It means we cannot able to connect through the internet. The moment if you get static or DHCP, Then again, right? So now see that again we are getting 192. It means that whoever from the DORA process, so whichever we are getting the first, that will be our IP address. Now see that in some time we are getting the 10 dot series, in some time we are getting the 192 dot series. So this is what we called as the DSCP snooping attack. Now question is that how we can mitigate this DSCP snooping attack, we'll see now, right? So let me open my PPT again. Now see that how to mitigate this attack means. Now if you consider this scenario, right? So if you consider this scenario, so to my this client, I need to get the DHCP server, right? So DHCP server means, so I need to make something called as a trusted port. Trusted port means whenever this traffic comes from, so for example, if you say this, whenever traffic comes from the either this interface or this one more possibility, this one, or this one, right? You make it as the trusted port so that you make it as the trusted port, so that whenever the DHCP offer comes from only this trusted port, then client will be accept this one, right? So if it is coming from the untrusted port, then what will be happen means this will not be accepted by the end user, so that we can able to mitigate the DHCP snooping attack. Now what we have to do means wherever we have the trusted port, in the trusted port we need to create. Let me again go back to my Cisco packet tracer scenario. Now, if you observe for each interface, right? So if you consider this switch one, right? So see that how many interfaces we have. If you observe this one, these many fast Ethernet interfaces we have, right? So I have 24 fast Ethernet. Then we have the 2 GB Ethernet ports, right? So these many interfaces. So what is the link which is connected to this original DHCP server is FA0 by 10, right? So this interface I am going to make it as the trust port. If FA0 by 20, if someone is trying to give your IP address from DHCP operation, we are not going to accept, right? The moment if you can click one, as we have seen, one time we are getting the IP address from the 10 dot series, another time we are getting the IP address from the 192 series, right? Now after performing the DHCP snooping mitigation attack, we'll see what will be happen, right? So for that, just I'm opening on my switch layer 2 net devices. So click on CLI, right? So once it is done, we'll perform the configuration operation, right? So just I'm going to show IP DHCP snooping, right? Is there any DHCP snooping is enabled means if you see any one of the interface, no trusted ports are there. The reason if there is no trusted ports are there, we can able to get the IP address from the rogue DHCP server as well as the legitimate DHCP server. Also now what I'm going to do is I'm going to into the configuration mode. Now I'm going to make the configuration, right? So first I'm going to enable the DHCP snooping operation, right? So for that, what is the command we need to use is IP DHCP snooping, right? So once this is enabled, in which interface we need to make as the trusted one, in each interface we need to make as the untrusted port. So if whenever I'm getting the IP address from this legitimate DHCP server, so I need to make this interface as the trusted port. So whenever if it is trusted port means by default all will be untrusted port. If user is getting from this one, automatically it will be reject. That is what exactly we are going to do here, right? So what is that interface? FA0 by 10, right? So I'm going to enter interface. What is that? FA0 by 10. So on this interface, what we are going to do is, this is FA0 by 10, right? Interface FA0 by 10, right? So now what I'm going to do is IP DHCP snooping, I'm making as the trust port, right? Now what we are going to do exactly is in this particular interface, we are making it as the IP DHCP snooping trust, right? Once it is done, now we'll come back to our privilege executive mode. Then we'll run the same command, right? So IP DHCP snooping. Now if you observe, so earlier see that no interface is configured as the DHCP snooping trusted port, right? Now if you see that here which port is configured, fast Ethernet 0 by 10 is configured, right? Now DHCP snooping is enabled, right? Which is trusted port, which is untrusted port, right? So now what we will do is we'll click on any end devices, right? Click on any end devices, go to desktop, then IP configuration. So static, right? We are requiring the DHCP, right? Just click on DHCP. Now see that what IP address we are getting? We are getting only IP address from the legitimate DHCP server, not from the rogue DHCP server, right? So this is how we can able to mitigate the DHCP snooping attack. See, if I click on 200 time also, I will be getting the assigning of the IP address only from the 192. Why? Because we have the trusted port as well as the untrusted port concept, right? So this is how we can able to mitigate the DHCP snooping attack. See, so in my case, whatever I explained through packet tracer, this is only simple network, right? So when you are working with your enterprises network, your college network, whatever it may be, you will be having the number of switches and number of routers and number of servers will be configured. So if you observe here, you will be understanding here. So what is the possible way to get from this one is either this direction or one more is this direction, right? So we need to make all these interface port as the trusted port, right? So implemented the DORA process. Then we have got the IP address by using of the DHCP server operation. Once it is done, then what we have done is we have performed the DHCP snooping attack by providing the right. So DHCP snooping security technology, we can able to stop the DHCP snooping attack, right? So this is one, right? So these are the command. If you want, you can see. The first command is we need to enable IP DHCP snooping. Then we need to configure in which interface we are making it as a trusted port. So this interface I am making as the trusted port. Once it is done, so IP DHCP snooping. It means that this particular port will be trusted port. So whenever required the IP address, the end devices will be getting the IP address only through the trusted port, right? So this is how we'll do. So next attack, we'll perform the MAC flooding attack. We'll see what is the meaning of MAC address flooding attack. Then what do you mean by content addressable CAM table flooding attack? So generally, as we are discussing in the layer 2, right? So layer 2 is data link layer, which works based on the layer 2 is data link layer, which works based on the MAC address mechanism, right? So now how we are going to perform the MAC address flooding attack means, so if you read this one, it is type of network attack where an attacker connected to a switch port floods the source switch interface with a very large number of the Ethernet frame with different fake source MAC addresses. Right, so in a typical MAC flooding attack, a switch is fed with many Ethernet frame, each contain the different source of MAC addresses by the attacker. The intention is to consume the limited memory set aside in the switch to store the MAC address table. Correct. Now, what is the meaning of this one is the moment if you see this diagram, so we have this switch. Switch is intelligent device. So hub is not intelligent device, right? So how switch will learn the MAC address of each device is the moment, for example, if you are going to communicate from this device to this device. For example, see, right? So you want to make the communication. So what switch will do means it will perform the broadcasting operation. But broadcasting operation means the same packet or frame will be transmitted to the PCB, PCD, PCC, right? Now what will be happen? The packet is intended to PCB, right? Now PCB will be receive this packet, then PCD, PCC will ignore the packet. So now what will be happen? You will be getting the acknowledgement back from the PCB to PCI, right? The moment switch will learn the PCB MAC address also. Like that is going to learn the dynamic MAC address mechanism, right? If you want to see that in Cisco packet tracer simulator, what is the command to check what is the MAC address table assigned with respect to each and every interface means we need to type the command show MAC address table. See that how many interfaces we have? FA 0 by 1, 0 by 2, 0 by 3, 0 by 4, right? So here if you see that each MAC address will be automatically dynamically learned by the particular switch, right? Now this is done, right? Now what is the meaning of MAC address table flooding attack means? Now if you consider here, this is my host B, this is my host A, then this is my attacker machine, right? So in general, if you see in previous slide, so how many PCs we have? 4, right? It means that we will be having the 4 different MAC address it is going to store. But if you observe here this scenario, this MAC address, it will be stored by the switch. This MAC address will be stored by the switch. Now here we have the attacker machine, right? Now what attacker will do is, right? instead of sending the single. So each device will be having the single MAC address, right? So it will be stored into the switch, right? In this case, nothing will be happen. We can have able to perform anything, something called as the MAC flooding attack. Now see that what attacker will do means using some tool or some operation, he is going to generate the multiple MAC addresses, right? So the multiple MAC address means something. So first time what is sending, he is sending some random MAC address to switch. Now what switch will do is some new MAC address come into the picture, so it will update in this database. Now in this case, then what will be happen means we can able to capture the entire information from the entire network, correct? So this is what we called as the MAC address table flooding attack, right? Now what we will do is, right, so we'll perform the MAC address flooding attack. Once it is done, how to mitigate the MAC address flooding attack we will see, right? So for this, if you use the Cisco packet tracer, the problem of the Cisco packet tracer here is, here we need to generate the traffic, right? So traffic means here we need to generate the, we need to use this command, right? MACF command, right? So if you want to generate this one, right? So these many fake MAC addresses, bogus MAC addresses, by default Cisco is not providing any kind of operating tool in order to perform. Like we don't have any we cannot get any something like this Kali Linux mission, something like. So for that, whoever is going to perform the like real-time attacks, then you go for the GNS3, graphical network simulator tool, right? So this is my GNS3. So network, right? So network means if you consider here, I have the PC1, PC2, one more is the Kali Linux mission, right? So here this Kali Linux mission is nothing but the, here whatever the we have in VMware workstation, this is this Kali Linux mission. Right now what we are going to do is, like, we will try to perform the MAC address flooding attack, right? So first what I will do is, just give me seconds so that it will be easy. Fine, let me open something like this. Fine, so this is my L2 device, nothing but this. So now see that what is the PC1, right? What is the IP address I'm trying to assign? So if you want to see, first if you type the command something show IP, now nothing is assigned, right? So for that I'm going to give the IP address is 192.168.1.2 something. So I'm going to enter the subnet module also, right? Once it is done, so it is checking for the duplicate IP address, right? So again, if you type the command show IP, now see that this IP address is assigned to this network, right? Here we have the PC2, right? So what is the IP address of PC2? This is 1.3, right? So let me click on PC2, right? Is my switch. Let me click on PC2, right? If I click on IP, right? Something like this. So IP. Then if you see this one, nothing is assigned, right? So for that I'm assigning the IP 192.168. Then one more is 1.3, right? So it is checking for the duplicate IP address. Now if you see that what is the IP address, this one, right? So if you want to communicate from one PC to another PC, the command we use the ping command, right? 192. 168 dot. So I'm currently in PC2, right? The IP address of PC2 is 1.3. I'm going to check with the 1.2. Now, if you observe here, we have the ping operation, right? So now what I will do is, right? So if you open this one, this is my real Kali Linux machine, right? So let me open my Kali Linux machine, right? So this is my Kali Linux machine. Let me first assign this IP address. What is the IP address I'm going to assign here is 192.168.1.1, right? So let me open this one. So just I'm open my command terminal, right? So let me check, is there any IP address is assigned for this Ethernet 0? Nothing is assigned, right? So just I'm typing the command ifconfig. What is the interface? Ethernet 0, right? If you see that this is 0, right? Ethernet 0. So IP address is something, right? 192.168.1.1 I'm going to assign as per my network diagram. Then we need to give the net mask. Net mask is nothing but the subnet mask. Net mask is 255 classy network, right? 255.255.0, right? So if you just type the command again, ifconfig command. Now see that this IP address is assigned, right? Now I'm inside of my virtual machine, Kali Linux machine. Suppose if I type the command ping 192.168. something 1.2 something. Now see that. So from here I'm going to ping with 1.2 network. You can see that ping is done, right? Now what we will do is once initial setup is ready. Now what we will do is we'll perform the MAC flooding attack, right? So we'll perform the MAC flooding attack. So before going to that, we'll see that what is the corresponding MAC address table, right? So for that, what is the command we need to use is, I'm going to here, just type the command show MAC at address table, right? So if you use this command show MAC address table, you can able to see that this one. See, I told that switch is dynamic, right? So how many interfaces we have? In my Kali Linux machine, what is that interface? Interface G0 by 0, right? So here we have the two ports. So for that, it is going to learn the two MAC address. Then this is for G0 by 1. This is for G0 by 2 is the right. So it is learning. Now what we are going to do what we are going to exactly do here, this is my attacker mission. I'm going to generate the multiple bogus MAC address. That is, we are going to inject on this switch so that it will not work as this switch. It will be work as something like a hub, so that we can able to steal the sensitive information. That is what exactly we are going to do, right? So if you see that initially how many MAC address we have, only 1 2 3 4 is there, right? The moment if I again type this command show MAC address table, we have only this one, right? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open my Kali Linux machine, right? So this, if you want to perform this similar kind of setup in case of Cisco packet tracer, you cannot get in something Kali Linux machine, so you cannot get some works like your real Cisco images, Cisco switches, routers, real Kali Linux machine, something it will be work as same it as, right? So let me open my this Kali Linux machine. So what I'm going to do means, right? So I'm going to perform the right MAC flooding attack, right? So now let me generate the random MAC address. For that, what is the command we use? MAC of minus interface. What is the interface here we need to generate? This is the interface Ethernet 0, right? This interface Ethernet 0 is right. So my IP that my network interface is Ethernet 0, right? Just I'm going to type the Ethernet 0. By using this command, the moment if you click how both addresses are generated. Now what is happening? If you see here, this Kali line is connected to the right. We say that we have the right. Now we what is happening? So going to time show address command. The moment flooding. So see that this one is 0 interface in bogus MAC address we are getting. So we are getting, so these bogus MAC address, right? To do is we are on the techniques, right? To perform the techniques, what we have to implement is we need to implement security cons. So what is the security cons means? If you are here, what is G0 by Fine. Again, it will take some time because my network is restarted, right? So we'll wait for some time. So before that, what we will do is, so if you observe here, you can see that my live Kali, my Linux machine, right? So just I'm performing the live boot operation. So it will take some time. So before that, we'll see. Then one more thing I can tell you is that, so this is my GNS3 simulator, right? So here we require Kali Linux machine, right? So here for that, what I have done is, if you observe here, right? So on VMware workstation, what I have done is, right? So I have installed the Kali Linux machine. So let it be open. We'll wait for some time. So meanwhile, let me explain. So this is how uh, that particular hacker is going to generate the bogus MAC address so that it is not going to work us. So this is what we call as the MAC table flooding attack, right? So once it is done, how to mitigate this attack means we will be having the port security concept, right? So what is the meaning of port security concept means someone, if this interface, someone is accessing this one, it means that, for example, so each device will be having the MAC address, right? This the MAC address will be AA something, this one will be BB, this one will be CC something, right? So this interface which attached with the particular AA MAC address. The moment some other user is come to the picture, he is going to access this particular switch. So it will only accept the user come with the AA MAC address as well. But the moment if you see that this PC will be having the different MAC address, right? So it will not come, right? It means that, so here we are binding that what MAC address will be allowed inside of your network, right? So it means that if you enable the port security mechanism on this particular interface, so if you see that in real time scenario, what we have done using GNS3, we are going to generate the multiple bogus MAC address, right? But after implementing the port security concept, what will be happen means it will accept only single MAC address. Even though you are generating the thousands of the bogus MAC address, you cannot able to inject into the switch so that you cannot able to perform the MAC flooding attack, right? So then let me, this is a rebooting. Once it is done, I'll show you real time, right? Next we'll go to, so let me explain theory what is happening there. So this is my network I have considered, right? So here what I'm going to do is IP. So initially if you see that these are the MAC address we have. So MAC address, the particular PC MAC address, then Kali Linux MAC address. After that what I have done using this command, right? As I shown, this is the command, right? So what is the command we have given, right? So and the Ethernet interface, I have issued the MACoff command, right? So MACoff command minus I Ethernet 0 interface, right? The moment if I issue this command, so what is happening means here it is going to generating the multiple MAC address, right? So this is going to be injected here, right? So after that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to perform the port security operation, right? So if you see that how to implement the port security operation means after implementing the port security operation means you can see that on which interface we are performing the port security operation, interface G0 by 0. It means that this is the interface, right? The interface is G0 by 0. The moment the user comes with G0 by 0 interface, so if you see that what I have given, maximum secure address will be allowed is only one. So current how many MAC address is assigned for G0 by 0 interface? Only one, right? If more than one comes, then what will be happen? Violation means initially it is 0, right? Because I didn't perform any violation count. So after security violation, what will be happen means you will be getting only one MAC address from the device so that you can able to stop the MAC flooding attack, right? So let me see that whether it is opened or not. Let me quickly open my GNS3. Sorry for inconvenience. Uh, Fine. So again, I have to open from this crash. Let me give the configuration first. So we have only G0 by 0. Why? Let me quickly do configuration. IF config. Ethernet 0 IP address is 192.168.1.1. So net mask 255.255.255.0, right? Just type this command IP config, right? And now what I'm going to do is using macaf command, right? So Ethernet 0 interface, right? These many random MAC addresses are being generated. Once it is done, let me open my switch, right? So here I have the switch, right? So I'll type the command MAC address table, show MAC address table. See that from this interface, right? So these many MAC addresses are being generated. These many MAC addresses are being generated, right? Now what we'll do is we'll implement the port security concept, right? So in which interface we need to perform the port security. So where we are getting the bogus MAC address, right? So we'll configure this one, right? So what is that interface? Interface G0 by 0, right? So let me open my switch, right? So through PuTTY, I'm going to connect my switch, right? As you can see here, right? So let me go inside of the configuration mode. So for that, I need to type the command configure terminal. Right. So what is that interface G0 by 8? Interface G0 by 0. Right. Switch mode. Let me do some initial configuration. Multiple MAC address. So for that, we are performing the MAC flooding attack, right? So first, what we'll do is on this particular interface, we'll perform the port security operation, right? So what I'm going to do is exactly just I'm going to configure the port security, right? I'll explain. See what exactly here I have done is, right? So I'm going to enable this port security on which interface? On the interface of G0 by 0, right? So now what I'm going to do is port security is enabled on that particular interface. Once it is done, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to provide the how many the MAC address from the switch of the particular interface G0 by 0, or if you use this command sticky command, what will be happen means it will automatically take the MAC address by using this sticky command. Once it is done, the particular one MAC address is assigned to that particular interface G0 by 0. Once it is done, if someone is accessing other than this MAC address, then what will be happen means we are performing someone violated. What we are going to do means we are going to perform the shutdown operation, right? So this is what I have done. So let me go back. I type the command show port security, right? So see that what is the interface we have implemented port security on G0 by 0 interface, right? So what is the count we have given? Current only one MAC address is accepting. So if it is violation is done, then what will be happen means automatically it will shut down, means from this interface you will be not getting any IP address. So for that what we will do is again we will go back to our Kali Linux machine, right? So now again I'm going to type the same one, right? So if you type this one, right? So what is the command? To see the MAC address table. So MAC address table, right? Now see that if you type this, even though I am injecting the multiple MAC address, right? Now if you type this same command, so MAC address table, see that automatically what is happening? By default we have given the shutdown mode, right? So shutdown mode by default that P0 interface will be shut down, means we cannot able to get any MAC address, so that we can perform the mitigation technique for the MAC flooding attack, right? So implementing the port security concept, we can perform the, sorry, we can avoid the MAC flooding attack, right? So then finally one more is, fine. So we can perform the telnet attack also. If you know what is the difference between, suppose this is my remote system. If you want to access the remote system, then what you have to do is we need to configure two protocols. One, we have the telnet protocol. Another one is the secure shell protocol. So what do you mean by telnet protocol means from my remote machine, I'm going to access the switch interface, right? It means instead of going to perform the configuration operation inside of the switch, so I can able to perform the all the configuration from my Kali Linux machine, either PC1 or PC2, right? So after performing the telnet operation, I'm going to access this remote machine, right? Once it is done, what will be happen means, so see that this is my Kali Linux machine, this is my Kali Linux machine. By using the telnet command, what is that interface 192.168.1.1, right? So I am going to access this switch. Once it is done, what I'm going to do is, so here this interface only, right, we are doing. So here I'm going to implement the start capture. Just we are capturing the packet, right? So the moment you capture the packet, now if you see that we can able to read the each every username, password, everything, whatever the data is being transmitted, everything we can able to see, right? So let me quickly configure my network so that you will understand. So fine, this is my network scenario. It means that this from Kali Linux machine, I'm going to access this switch. So for that, just start, right? Once it is done. So let it be Kali Linux machine is booting. We'll wait for some time. So let me open my switch. So my switch is booting now. It will take some time. We'll wait for that. So if you want to work with GNS3, minimum recommended RAM size is 8 GB. Right, otherwise it will be like you cannot able to perform any kind of operation using GNS3. Why? Because 8 GB RAM is required means everything we are, so whatever here features, whatever your Kali Linux mission, whatever you will be having the PCs, everything which is real-time devices, right? So this means this which means this is not simulator, it is emulator, means that we are working with the real switch, real Cisco switches, right? So that's the reason it is taking time. So before that, let me show you one more thing. Right. So what is that is, for example, here, if you consider this one, right. So if you see that, so in my computer, in my VMware workstation, so I have GNS3 installed. To open the GNS3, then I have installed the Kali Linux mission, right? So to perform Kali Linux mission, so how much 2.3 GB, the ISO file is something around 2.3 GB. So then I have assigned 2 GB RAM, 2 core processor, something I have assigned, right? So now see that if you have something you require some more mission, some more things, then what will be happen means you cannot able to provide those much of operating system, those much of hardware, right? So for that, if anybody is working with GNS3, right? So if you just here we have the something called as the hub.docker.com, right? If anybody knows containerization technologies like virtual machines, like we have the containerization technology, right? So for example, if something you require, right, something Linux operating system is you require, right? Now if you see that this is one of the Linux operating system, directly you can download from the up.docker.com. From the Docker container platform, directly you can download. So how to you can download is just copy this one. Later on I'll show you. Copy this one. Just download it. Now if you observe this, what is size of this Linux operating system is only 5 MB size, right? So earlier for installing the Kali Linux machine, I have spent right 2 GB RAM, 2 core processor, right? So with 5 MB you can able to get the Alpine. But if you ask me, so all the OSs nothing you will be getting, only you will be getting the minimal OS. Suppose for example, how this can be helpful means this, for example, if you consider this Ubuntu operating system, suppose for example, I want to host the web application, right? So web application means, right, web application like either it may be HTTPD, Apache web server or whatever it may be, Tomcat, whatever it may be. And this just OS, what we are going to do is inside of the OS, you are going to work host web application, right? Let it be HTTPD, right? So let it be, it may take 40 MB size, right? So for this 40 MB size, with the minimal OS itself, we can install. It means my requirement is that my OS is dedicated only for the HTTP server. In this case, we don't require to install the ISO file, then separate allocating of the memory, RAM size, number of core processors. It is not required, right? So by using 5 MB itself, we can launch our virtual machine, right? That is the one of the beauty if you are working with the GNS3 machines, right? So fine, I think my network boot up, right? Let me open my switch also. This is also working, right? Yeah, it should be in configuration mode, right? Enable password. Some password I'm going to give in order to access the, right? Once it is done, right? So this is my Kali Linux machine, right? So let me open my Kali Linux machine also. Right? So let me assign first IP address. What is that IP address? 1.1, right? So let me assign this IP address. Let me open my terminal. So no IP address is here, right? So on the Ethernet 0, I'm going to assign some 192.168.1.1. So net mask is I'm going to give, right? So 255.255.255.0, right? If I see that I have config, we got the IP address 192.168.1.1 this IP address we got, right? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to configure the, right, so telnet on this particular switch, right? So for that, what is the command we need to use is line bty 02 something. I'll explain show you, right? So just I'm going to give the password, let it be some password, right? I'm going to perform the login, right? So now again, one more thing what you have to do is, right, switch is layer to device, right, which works based on the MAC address mechanism, right? But what I'm going to do is from my machine, I'm going to access this switch, right? It means that whatever the things now currently I'm performing on the switch, the same I can perform by the remote machine, right? So for that we require some IP address in order to get the connectivity. So this is not real IP address, this is the virtual IP address that we are going to create, right? So for that, what is the command we need to use is interface VLAN1, right? So IP address I'm giving something 192.168.1.100 something I'm giving. So subnet mask is 255.255.255.0 means that VLAN interface I'm going to create the virtual IP address, right? So by default everything will be in shutdown mode. We need to use the no shutdown command, correct? Once it is completed, so if you go, you can see that, right? So the command is we can use the show running configuration. If you see that, so this is one, right? So let me click enter, you will see that. So this is whole configuration of my particular switch, right? See what is that interface VLAN one? This IP address is 1.100, right? IP address, right? So I have configured. Now what I'm going to do is let me open my Kali Linux machine. Alright, so I'm just issuing the command telnet. What is the IP address I have given? 192.168.1.100, right? Now see that it is asking for the part code, right? So now what I'll do is let me exit from this one. right? So before that, what I'll do is, this is my network, right? So here what I'm going to do, this interface I'm going to connect, right? So initially this password for accessing this virtual terminal. So I can, what is the password, which is Cisco, right? This knows by only administrator. So whoever knows this password as a Cisco, they can able to establish the remote connection, right? Now what I'm trying to do is, right? So just I'm clicking on this interface, right? Just give me a second. On this interface I'm clicking. So just click on start capture, right? So now I'm going to, right, Wireshark and network analyzer I'm going to open. The moment you open this one, on this particular interface, you are going to see the entire packet information, right? So let me go back to my Kali Linux mission again. So what is the command? So telnet for accessing the remote system. What is that IP address, virtual IP address I have created in the switch 192.168.1.100, right? Let it me, I'm giving for some password Cisco. Then I'm giving some enable some password I'm giving, right? The password is Cisco, right? If you type this command show running configuration, you can see that what is the configuration inside of this particular switch, right? So it means that what is the meaning, from my Kali Linux mission I have accessed the particular switch, right? Now if you see that what type of thing we have performed in order to access the remote mission, we have to establish the telnet protocol, right? Now the moment if I open this my packet analyzer, right? So just to capture the TCP, right? I will just open any packet, something like this. Let me open this one. Just click on flow, then TCP string. Now, if you see this one, whatever the perform. So whatever the commands we have typed in the same, right? The same commands also we are going to type in the router also. So how to mitigate this attack means we need to implement the protocol called as the secure shell protocol, right? So if you implement the secure shell protocol, then we can able to mitigate this attack, right? So this is what it is, right? So then final one is, let me show you. Let me give quickly idea, right? So final one is VLAN attack. So what is the meaning of VLAN attack means? So generally, if you consider this is my network, right? This is my local area network, right? So if I want to connect from here to here, it is possible because everything is under the same network. If I'm connecting from here to here, it is possible. From here to here, it is possible, right? Now my requirement is something like this. If you see that what is my requirement is that, so here something, some faculty is there, some students are there. Inside of this particular switch, let it be, this is one block, this is another block, right? Now my requirement is that I cannot ask faculty to sit here all into the multiple switches, right? So the moment if you make this one as separate VLAN group, this as separate VLAN group, so whichever having the same VLAN group will able to communicate one to another. So whichever having the different VLAN group, that will be able to communicate with the different one. So what I mean to say here is, now see that by default, if you consider any Cisco switches as either Cisco packet tracer, or if you are performing the network simulation using GNS3, by default, if you observe here, by default you will be getting all the interfaces, right? So this switch, all the interfaces will be connected to the VLAN one. That's the reason why initially you will be able to communicate with this one or this one, right? The moment if you creating the different VLAN number, so let it be, this is my VLAN number 10, this is my VLAN number 20. So this is my VLAN number 20. This is my VLAN number 20. It means that those who have come with VLAN 10 only, they can able to communicate together. If they are trying to communicate VLAN 10 with VLAN 20, they cannot able to communicate, right? So now, for example, let me open my packet tracer so that you will be understanding. Fine. So this is my network. So initially, if you observe here, so I have already given the IP address. So what is the IP address I have given is 1.1, right? So like that 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, 1.5, something I have given. Now just let me perform the ping operation, right? So let me go to command prompt. So command is ping 192.168.1 dot, let it be something 1.3. So this is nothing but what my intention is that the users whoever in this group cannot able to communicate this one. But if you see that here what is happening, initially it is going to communicate with 1.3 network, right? It means you are getting the reply, right? Suppose if you can enter some other IP address 1.6, you can able to communicate. Now what I'm going to do exactly here is I'm going to implement the VLAN concept, right? So how to implement the VLAN concept means, right? If you see this one, just click on this switch. On configuration mode, what I'm going to do here is, right? So what is that interface we have, right? So let me go quickly, configure terminal, right? So what is this interface? Interface FA0 by 1, FA0 by 2, right? So but if you see the default, right? So if you type this command show VLAN, you can see that all the interfaces are belonging to the single VLAN, so that all can able to communicate, right? Now I want to make this LAN into the VLAN concept, means I'm going to divide this switch, physical switch, into the virtual different switches, something like that, right? So for that, what I'm going to do is just I'm going to configuration mode, right? So these two interfaces are FA0 by 1, FA0 by 2. I'm making into the one VLAN, right? So this means just I'm typing the command interface range FA0 by 1 to 2, right? Switch port mode. Access mode means it will carry only particular VLAN only, right? Switch port access VLAN. So which VLAN? For example, here I have created the VLAN 10, right? So let it be some number VLAN 10, right? So it is created, right? Now what we have to do is, again we have the FA0 by 10, FA0 by 20, right? So for that, what I'm going to do is, again interface, what is that interface? FA0 by 10, one is the interface, another one is the FA0 by 20 is the another one, right? So here what I'm going to do is, I'm going to perform the same access mode, then access VLAN will be something around 20. Right, so it means that this we have divided into VLAN 10 separate group, this we have divided into the separate group, right? Once it is done, next, so here if you observe here, this is different VLAN, this is different VLAN. If it want to carry the traffic, this interface should be trunk port. What is the meaning of trunk port? Means it should be have the capability of transferring the multiple traffics or multiple VLAN, right? So for that, what is the command is interface FA0 by 24, right? So switch port mode trunk. Trunk will carry the traffic of the multiple VLAN. Let me show a quick summary. All right. So command is show interface status. All right. If you type this command, if you see that FA0 by 1, FA0 by 2, these interfaces are connected to the VLAN 10. Then FA0 by 10 as well as the 20 is connected to the second VLAN. So if you see that FA, what is that interface value? That interface FA0 by 24, right? This interface is connected to the trunk, right? Now the same thing I'm going to configure in the second switch also, right? So let me open the switch, configuration mode, right? So same interfaces again. FA0 by 1 to 2, right? Switch port mode, access mode. Access means it will carry only single traffic. Switch port access VLAN 10, right? So once it is done, so next again we have the another group, right? So that group is FA0 by 10. One more is FA0 by 20, right? So I'm going to make it as the switch port mode access mode. Access, this time it is VLAN 20, right? So that's what is the one more interface. This interface is, right? What is that interface? FA0 by 24, right? Which should be able to capable of transferring the multiple VLANs, right? So for that interface FA0 by 24 switch port mode trunk, right? So once it is done, now what we will do is, right, we'll go back with our switch, right? So just I'm clicking on this PC, right? So the moment I'm clicking on this PC, if I'm able to communicate 1.2, let us see what will be happen, right? So IP address is 1.2, right? So we can able to perform the communication, right? Because they are under the same group, right? Right. Now if I see that this is the different group, right? The green color, what is the IP address 1.3, right? So if I type this command 1.3, right, now if you see that you cannot able to communicate. Why? Means this is under VLAN 10 different group, this is under VLAN 20 different group. See that request is timeout, then again by default it will send the 4 packets, so everything will be request timeout, right? Now here intention is that what is the meaning of VLAN attack means, if this can be able to access only this VLAN 10 traffic only, this user can able to access only VLAN 20 traffic, because we want to perform the security mechanism in between faculty to students, so that we have created the different VLAN, so that only faculty will be access to the faculty group, student will be access to the student group. It means student will not be accessed to the faculty group. But what is the meaning of VLAN attack means, by using some Kali Linux tool, this interface we can make it as the trunk port, so that we can able to communicate this one also, right? So that is what we called as the VLAN attack, right? So just I'll show you how to perform the VLAN attack, right? So for that, what we have to do is, I'll show you just what is the tool that we have to use in order to perform the VLAN attack operation. See, this tool, HCNA is the right. So spanning tree protocol, BTP. So everything we can able to perform, right? So it means that we are going to launch the attack. So whatever the attack we want to perform, something if you want to perform the 8021 protocol, right? So what we are going to do is just click on the launch attack. Then here we are going to send the double encapsulation packet, so that we can able to communicate with the one different VLAN with the another different VLAN. So for that, how we can mitigate this one is, by default, whatever the Cisco switches we have, the world switches, everything will be comes under the negotiation operation. Negotiation means operation means, if any one of the links wants to connect as the trunk port, by default it will be connected as the trunk port. Now how to mitigate this attack means, we have to make this which one should be trunk port, which one should be access port. The moment you make this particular port as the only allowed for access port, then you cannot able to perform the VLAN attack, right? Now if you observe here, to perform this VLAN attack, what is the tool which I require? Kali Linux, right? So for Kali Linux, if you see that my virtual machine, then what is done? So here I have installed the Kali Linux machine, right? It is something around 2.3 GB, right? I have assigned the memory, underlying hardware, everything, right? But if you see that what is the intention of performing the attack is that we require the Yersinia, right? So Yersinia tool is required, right? So instead of downloading the entire Kali Linux machine, so what we will do is, right? So we have the images, right? So just go to dockerhub.com. So just go to here, HCNA, right? What is the tool is required? HCNA, right? Just click on this one. So these many operating systems images are available, right? So if something this is required, right? So here we can perform almost these kind of things. So earlier I have installed the Kali Linux machine to perform the Mac flooding attack, right? So Mac of this is required, right? Now in order to perform the VLAN attack, this is required, right? This is one kind of attack we require this tool, right? Here you don't require to perform entire operating system, just to copy this one, right? So now what I'm going to do is to open my GNS3 VMware. Now I'm showing you that how to add this one. So just click on new templates, right? The moment you click on new template, so now manually we are creating, right? So just click on manually creating, then next, right? Once it is done, now see that here we will be having the add in the Cisco switches, right? Routers we can directly download from the internet, so that we can use it. So in my case, I'm performing the Docker containerization, right? Just click on Docker container, just click on new one, right? Obviously we are working under the GNS3 VM, right? So just click on next, right? So here we need to attach the image, what image you want that we need to attach, right? So if it's this one, then if you click next, then what will be happening is you will be getting the operating system, right? So what that operating system will be consist of is only minimal operating system, which is less than 50 MB, the size of that particular operating system. Inside of that operating system, you will be getting only this senior tool, so that without installing the entire Kali Linux virtual machine, by using 50 100 MB itself, we can able to perform this all kind of attacks, right? So this is the one great tool. By using Docker Hub, what you have to do is just copy that image name, right? So that you can perform the, right? You can here. So see that here Kali Linux. If you see here something, right? So this is my Ubuntu machine, right? This is only 5 MB, right? So the moment if I open this one, right? So just let me start this one, right? Once it is started, let me open console. I think this will not work because I have given some other name. Let me open this one. Just a second. This one, right? First, let me start this one. Now see that this is my Ubuntu operating system. If I type the command, who am I, right? And then if you type the command ls, if you want to make mkd or abc, everything you can do it, right? So for this, you don't require to install the separate operating system, right? So this is how we can able to perform almost all any kind of layer 2 attacks as well as the mitigation techniques, right? So that is all from my end. If you have any queries, you can ask. Thank you. Thank you very much.